Namaskar Bandhura. Hi friends. So we are back to learning verbs, and for the next few lessons we will concentrate on learning the different sense organs and their related verbs. The sense organ which we are going to start with are the eyes, and the most commonly used word for eyes in Bengali is choke. Choke. There are some other less frequently used words. Those are noyon, noyon, netro, netro, chokhu, chokhu, and akhi, akhi. This slide is one of our most favorite ones. We have all gone through this before. So verb forms change with person, first, second, or third person. It changes with degree of formality, and we are only learning the semi-formal version as of now. It does not change with number, singular or plural, and it does not change with gender, male or female. Now, for a semi-formal version of verbs, the no endings for I and we, first person, is E. The endings for you, both singular and plural, is O. And for third person, he, she, or they, it is either A or I, depending on which of the verb groups the verb falls into. Talking about verb groups, we have already covered two groups of verbs before. Uh, the first group is where the infinitive form of the verb ends in wa. So khawa, gawa, showa, chawa, dewa, newa, all of these. So if you notice the table below, uh, the to make the conjugation forms, we will cut off the wa at the end of the infinitive and add e, o, and I to the endings. Now, the second group of verbs where the verbs end in a as opposed to wa. In this group, we just change the uh, last vowel, which is a, to e, o, and a. So group 1 ends in E, O, and I. Group 2 ends in E, O, and A. Um, the first verb which we are going to cover today is Dekha. And Dekha is a very general purpose word in Bengali in the sense that it covers all of the scenarios of see, look, and watch in English. From the infinitive form Dekha, we can see that it ends in a, so it falls under group 2 of verbs, and hence the conjugations will be similar to what we have learned before. So the words will the first person verbs will end in e. Ami dekhi, amra dekhi. Second person verbs will end in o. Tumi dekho, tomra dekho. And third person verbs will end in a. ও দেখে ওরা দেখে আমি দেখি আমরা দেখি তুমি দেখো তোমরা দেখো ও দেখে ওরা দেখে Negations very easy as always, just add na after the verb and it becomes a negative form. আমি দেখি না আমরা দেখি না তুমি দেখো না তোমরা দেখো না ও দেখে না ওরা দেখে না Let's have a look at some examples. আমরা অত টিভি দেখি না আমরা অত টিভি দেখি না Pretty simple and straightforward sentence. The subject amra is at the beginning of the sentence. Um, the verb, the negative verb in this case, dekhina, is at the end of the sentence. Auto TV is the object and in the middle of the sentence. TV, as you can understand, is a English word which has been imported directly into Bengali. There's a Bengali word durodarshon for this, but it's much less frequent than the English word TV. Now, auto means that much. We haven't learned this before, but if you remember when we did pointers, we did quite a lot of words with a, o, she. This, that over there. All of those words start with a, o, and she. So, ato means this much and auto means that much. So ato and auto are part of those pointer words. The second sentence, তোমাকে প্রায়ই বাজারে দেখি। তোমাকে প্রায়ই বাজারে দেখি। Again, the verb is at the end. From the verb, you can probably guess that this is a first person verb form. So the subject would be I or we, which is omitted here because it is understood from the context that I see you often in the market. So আমি তোমাকে প্রায়ই বাজারে দেখি. That would have been the complete sentence, but since the subject is understood, it is dropped here. If you remember the objective uh, pronoun forms, tomake is the objective form of the personal pronoun. Prai bajare dekhi means I often see you at the market. Now prai means almost, prai means often. This is a distinction you should probably remember because you will come across this distinction often. Prai. So pry is almost, pry is often. And if you notice that both are first person usage of the verb dekhi, but in the first sentence, dekhi is replacing the word watch in the English sentence. In the second sentence, dekhi is replacing the word see in the English sentence. So dekhi in Bengali, or rather dekha, the verb dekha in Bengali can be used for all of three English words watch, look, and see. Couple of more examples. আমার সব বন্ধুরা গেম অফ থ্রোনস দেখে। আমার সব বন্ধুরা গেম অফ থ্রোনস দেখে। Again, দেখে, the verb is at the end of the sentence. The subject here is bondhura, friends. Amar, notice that amar here is in the possessive form. So amar means my. Amar bondhura is my friends. Amar সব বন্ধুরা means all my friends. So আমার সব বন্ধুরা, this is collectively, this word group collectively represents the subject of the sentence. The word amar here, do not mistake this to be the subject because amar is in the possessive form. If it would have been the subject, it would have been in the subjective form, which is ami. So amar সব বন্ধুরা here collectively represents the subject. And again, dakhe replaces the English word watch. Now, in the next example, we will see that dakhe, or rather the verb dekha, may not always replace the English words look, see, and watch. They might be used in a extended context as well. So the English sentence here, that gentleman has weak eyesight. This will be translated in Bengali like this. ওই ভদ্রলোক চোখে ভালো দেখেন না. ওই is a word for that. Again, pointers we learnt a o she. So ei is this, oi is that. So ওই ভদ্রলোক, ভদ্রলোক is a word for word replacement of gentleman. ওই ভদ্রলোক চোখে ভালো দেখেন না. This sentence literally translates to English as that gentleman does not see well with his eyes, which contextually translates to weak eyesight. Um, One more thing I want to clarify about the sentence here is the verb dakhen is the honorific form of the verb. So dakhen na is the negative honorific form of the verb. So in this sentence, we are talking about some gentleman who has weak eyesight. So presumably it's an old gentlemanly person. So in those kind of cases, it's common to use the honorific form of the verb. We haven't learned the honorific form, so we will come back and learn it later. But this is just for example and also some context building. The next verb which we are going to learn today is takano. Now, Dekha and Takano, those have some overlap in their usage, and the demarcation is pretty subtle. So let me try to explain that. But to be honest, in some cases either of the verbs can be used, and it it, it more depends on the context of the talk. And it will come with usage. As you gain more mastery over Bengali, you will understand intuitively where to use which verb. But let me just try to point out some differences to start off with. So, Dekha is a general word which is broad in its usage. So, see, look, and watch, all of these English words can be replaced by Dekha. Takano, as you can see from the slide, you can only use it to replace the English word look, and that also not in all cases. So, Dekha is a broad general usage. Takano is a very narrow usage. And when we say Takano, it is more to look at something with focus. Uh, like in 99% of the cases, when you are using Takano, it means that you are looking at something with focus, as opposed to Dekha, which means just to generally look at something. Before we go into more of the usage, let's first learn the grammar and the conjugations. Uh, so Takano, as you can see, it the verb ends in no, which is neither of the group 1 nor of the group 2 verbs. So this is a new group of verbs which we will designate as group 3. So in this case, from Takano, to make the conjugations for first, second, and third person, we will cut off the no at the end of Takano, and add E, O, and I again. So in that case, you can say the conjugations are similar to the group 1 verbs, other than the fact that the group 1 verbs end in wa, where you cut off the wa and add e, o, and I. In this case, the group 3 verbs, we cut off the no at the end of the verbs and add e, o, and I. So Takano will become ami takai, amra takai, তুমি তাকাও, তোমরা তাকাও, ও তাকায়, ওরা তাকায়। আমি তাকাই, আমরা তাকাই, তুমি তাকাও, তোমরা তাকাও, ও তাকায়, ওরা তাকায়। Negations, very easy. আমি তাকাই না, আমরা তাকাই না, তুমি তাকাও না, তোমরা তাকাও না, ও তাকায় না, ওরা তাকায় না। Let's have a look at some examples. কেন আমরা সূর্যের দিকে তাকাই না? কেন আমরা সূর্যের দিকে তাকাই না? This is a question sentence, but even in that case, the negative form of the verb is at the end of the sentence. The subject is towards the beginning of the sentence. In this case, the first word of the sentence is a question word, but we are free to move it around. So we can also have the sentence like this: আমরা সূর্যের দিকে কেন তাকাই না? The second sentence, গুটলু বারবার ওর মার দিকে তাকায়। গুটলু বারবার ওর মার দিকে তাকায়। Gutlu looks at his mother's direction again and again. So, couple of things I want to point out here. One, if you notice, the verb which is replaced by the forms of takano in the English sentence is look. So we are only replacing the English word look with takano. For see and watch, we absolutely do not use takano. We always use dekha. So keep that in mind. That's one of the easiest demarcations. The second one is, if you notice the two sentences, there is a certain purpose behind looking or not looking at someone. So when we say that why don't we look at the sun, we are not implying that we whether we know, like, it's not like we look at the sun just to look at it. We don't look at the sun uh, because it's dangerous. So it implies that we don't look at the sun directly, so there's a purpose behind not looking at it. In the second sentence, when we say Gutlu is looking at his mother again and again, so that implies that he is looking at her to get some signal from her. He is awaiting some sort of directions or some sort of signal from his mother. So there is a purpose behind the looking or the not looking. So generally, when the word takano is used, it implies that there is a purpose or there is a focus behind that action, as opposed to dekha, which is the general word for look, watch, and see. Now, on to some non literal usage of dekha and takano. দেখো, দেখো ছেলের কাণ্ড, দেখো মেয়ের অবস্থা. This is a sign of exasperation or irritation or annoyance at the incredulousness of the situation which has just transpired. So if you are pretty annoyed at what has just happened, uh, this is a handy sentence to use. দেখো, দেখো ছেলের কাণ্ড, দেখো মেয়ের অবস্থা. We also covered this when we covered the verb bojo. So দেখো is look and bojo is understand, but they are used in these kind of sentences in the exact same context. So look at what he has done or look at what she has done, kind of like that. When we learned about inclusion and exclusion, we learned that adding the suffix o to the end of the word signals inclusion. So dekheo means even after including the act of seeing, or even after seeing, the person is not seeing the other person or the thing. So dekheo na dekha literally means even after seeing, you are not seeing the person or the thing. Hence, it implies that you are ignoring someone or something deliberately. ও ছেলেদের দিকে তাকায় না, ও ছেলেদের দিকে তাকায় না. Literally, this means she doesn't look towards boys, but the implied meaning is she doesn't check out boys. মাঝে মাঝে বইয়ের দিকেও তাকাও, মাঝে মাঝে বইয়ের দিকেও তাকাও means মাঝে means in between, so মাঝে মাঝে means sometimes. uh, বইয়ের দিকেও তাকাও means look at the book's direction. Sometimes look at the book also. It implies that pay attention to your studies at times as well. Um, so in both those cases, again, if you notice that takano here is used in a sense where you look at something with a purpose or with a focus. Hence, these sentences are taking on the verb takano. But again, you can use dakha here as well, because dakha is a general purpose word which can be used for look, see, and watch. So all of the related words in English you can replace with dakha. So here also in both the sentences we can say ও ছেলেদের দিকে দেখে না, or we can say মাঝে মাঝে বইয়ের দিকেও দেখো. Those sentences will be uh, grammatically correct, contextually understood. In fact, even the sentences which we did with takano earlier, those also we can replace takano with dekha. So if you are not able to understand where to use takano and where to use dekha, just go for dekha. It is grammatically correct, contextually consistent. Just that takano shows a greater understanding of the language, and you might hear this word now and then. So it's better to be aware that this is another word which is used in the context of looking. We learned quite a lot today, so let's recap. We have learned about several verb groups till now. So the first verb group ends with wa, the second verb group ends in a, and the third verb group, which we learned about today, ends in no. So all of them will have similar conjugations. So verb group 1 is, uh, let's say, khawa. It becomes khai, khao, khai. Word group 2, asha, becomes ashi, asho, ashe. Word group 3, takano, becomes takai, takao, takai. Secondly, be aware of the context because there are homonyms in Bengali as well, just like in other languages. So, for example, asha becomes ashi. Ashi is I come or we come. But ashi also means 80, 80 in Bengali. Takano, takano, we can cut off the no, and so taka is a imperative form. We haven't learned it yet, but there is also a word in Bengali, taka, which means money. So you have to look out for the context, whether it is the verb which we are talking about or it is something else. And also look out for the inflections in the sentence because they give out important information of whether it's used in the literal sense or it is giving out some other information about the usage of the verb. Today's lesson name, Orom Takio is a romantic and comic song by the Bangla band Bhumi, and it talks about how the person loses composure when his or her lover throws a intent look at them. So it goes like this. ওরম তাকিও না আমি ক্যাবলা হয়ে যাই আমার চোখের ভাষা যায় হারিয়ে আমার হৃদয় কাঁপে পরিস্থিতির চাপে তখন থেকে বোকার মতো দাঁড়িয়ে For today's homework, recommend me one movie to watch. It can be in any language as long as it comes with English subtitles. Let me know how was the movie, what was your experience of watching it. You can write as much as you want as long as you can write it in Bengali. You can even give a movie review as long as it is in Bengali. This is the word list for today. We actually covered a lot many new words today, so it's a long word list. Come back and have a look whenever you need to. That's it for today. Thank you for listening in. সবাই ভালো থেকো, আবার দেখা হবে. Everyone stay well. We will meet again soon.